So when I left you guys last, I told you that when we came back, we would have our door completely re-primed, ready to spray, ready to paint, and that is exactly what we're going to do in this video. But I thought, you know, it's kind of a shame that this being the last panel. This is it. After this, we're done. There'll be no more paint stripping, no more priming, no more none of that stuff. So I thought I would take this opportunity for those of you that want to actually see it. We will start from the ground up, and we will go through the complete process, 100% in full detail on what we're doing on this, starting from, you know, bare metal, just starting from bare metal. So here we go. Remember, we started out 80 grit. This is all 80 grit, and that should be a good foundation for our glaze to stick to. Now here's the glaze that we're using. We haven't used this glaze yet on this project, but I think it's going to be good. It's the same brand as what we've been using. We've been using U-Pole, and this is the same thing. This is the number for it if you guys want. I've just been getting this over at the O'Reilly's. It's fairly cheap, and it seems to spread super easy. Now, I haven't sanded any yet, so let's find out if it sands good. All right, so now that we got the door down to bare metal, I cannot stress to you guys enough how important it is to clean this metal off. And the glass cleaner that we normally use to clean all this stuff off after it's already been primed and blocked and things, that's just not going to cut it when you're dealing with this bare metal. This is what I use, just your regular run-of-the-mill cheap stuff. I get that from Walmart, you know, 20 bucks or less. I think it's like $16, $17. Actually, there's a price right there, $18.78, and you can actually get it on sale a little bit cheaper than that. It works fine for cleaning things. I use the Scott brand lint-free paper towels, the blue kind. You can get it pretty much anywhere, Walmart, AutoZones, you name it. They've all got them. And this is why we do this. I mean, check this out. That metal looks nice and shiny, right? But it is extremely dirty. Look at that. Is one little wipe about a foot long. And look what that metal looks like. I've already blown all of this off with the air compressor. That's what's left behind. So man, let that be a lesson to you. You really do got to clean this old metal off. Now once we've got it all cleaned off, I'm just going to go one wipe. Look at that. One wipe. Look, oh my goodness, it's going to take a whole roll of paper towels at this rate. Just finishing up here. Look how clean the rag is getting. Far cry from where it was there. Let's get us some out here on our board. Going to get a pretty good amount here. Something like that. That ought to get us started. Here's the hardener that it comes with. Probably showed you guys this before, but you definitely want to kind of mix it up a little bit. The stuff separates rather quickly inside and turns into a liquid, kind of like ketchup. You know, you go to squirt it out at first and nothing but liquid comes out. It's the same way this will do. Some guys will run it across their mud, and that's fine. I like to put mine off to the side, and I don't like to use very much because I would rather wait longer for this stuff to harden up than I would have it harden up before I get it all on the panel. Then you're wasting. So the more of that blue stuff, obviously, the faster it's going to get hardened up. I like to give myself plenty of work time, so I don't use a lot. I've always heard that too much hardener will create pinholes in your bodywork. So there's another reason not to use too much hardener. So anyway, let's get her all spread out. They say, I know I've talked to you guys, they say don't do this. The mixing, they say don't do that. So what I do is I just kind of fold it over on top of itself about 100 times. I mean, I do it a lot. And I just kind of spread it out. See, I keep wiping it off my spreader. Whoa, see that? Boy, we about went over the edge there. That was a close one. You don't want to do that. So, keep spreading it out. Keep wiping it off the spreader. Keep gathering it back up. I like to spread it all out. Gather it back up. And I just keep doing that until it's all mixed up. I think we're doing pretty good now. This should give us plenty of work time to get this on the car, okay? because I did not put very much hardener in. And I don't care if it takes a half hour. You know, in the body shop, that wouldn't fly. Things are a little too fast paced. But out here in my own shop, I can take as long as I want. Okay, so I'm gonna take my spreader here and let's get started. I think I'll start right over here on the edge. Try to get the best shot I can here. We're just gonna start wiping it on there. Like I said before, yes, we are gonna do the whole door. And then we're gonna go back and sand about 90% of it right back off. And what this is gonna act like is kind of like just a self-leveler. It's gonna level everything out. And then of course, when we come back and sand it all down with our nice straight blocks, we will have a nice uniform finish with no more high and low spots or any of that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not getting too carried away with trying to make it look pretty or any of that at this point. Just want to get it on there, okay? And then afterwards, look, I got another spreader here that's almost twice as wide as this one. That's the one we'll go back and make it all pretty with. See that? Ooh, look at that. Oh man, that looks so good we don't even have to sand it, right? Yeah, just like that. That's gonna sand out so nice, man. When we're done, it'll be nice and straight. And like I said before, like I've said a million times, I'll keep stressing it, most of this gets sanded right back off. Okay, so obviously I had to mix up another batch. That wasn't going to be enough to do the whole door. So here we are with another batch, and we are reaching the edge of the door here. Got this set over here because I've only got two hands. One for this and one for the camera, right? So anyway, I just like watching that stuff go on there. It's kind of relaxing. Go through, wipe the excess off the edge. Excess, I think I said access. Sorry, I'm a redneck. Talk a little funny to some of y'all. But yeah, like I said before, you know, just get it on there. Don't worry about making it pretty at first. We will go back with our wide spreader there. See, this is the short one. And we'll get it all nice and uniform and looking right. You know, get rid of our little, you know, marks that this thing's leaving behind. You might ask, like, why don't you just use the wide one to begin with? I guess you could, but I don't know. I feel like I have a little better control with this smaller one here, and then I'll go back and dress it up after the fact. So, anyway, you can do it however you want. That's for sure. Whatever you're comfortable with, whatever gets it done, right? So anyway, there you have it. We got her all wiped down. Let's go through and kind of dress it up a little bit. Wipe my spreader off, like so. Let's get the wide one out. And let's come through here and kind of make it pretty. Something like that. We'll just keep on. It's a good idea to wipe one direction, all right, and then come back and wipe it the other direction. This just helps force out any kind of pinholes there might have formed into the filler. And pinholes, for those you don't know, that's just little air bubbles. When they pop, it forms a little hole about the size of a pin. And it's the best way to annoy a painter. Ask me how I know. Okay, so I think that'll get it. That's gonna obviously need some time to dry, and then we could come back. Get this off this edge here, look at that. Oh, it's already starting to harden up, see that? Awesome. Just kind of scrape that right off the edge there. But yeah, we'll come back after that all hardens up real good, and we will block it back down with 80 grit on a medium-sized block. and it should be good after that. And then we could come through and start the priming phase, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. Let's get past this first. Okay, so just because the mud's on the panel does not mean you're done. Obviously, you got to get over here and clean off your spreaders. I like to even clean off the mud board. Go scrape this off into the trash can. Okay, after that, of course, you just want to take your acetone, lacquer thinner, whatever. You could use whatever you want on this. And clean these spreaders back off. You know, you can let the mud kind of firm up a little bit and just kind of peel it off, but I like to go ahead and just wash it off, get it over with. Have it ready for when we need it again here in just a few minutes. We may need it for something else, you know, so it'll be ready. This is our spreader board here. This was sent to us by a subscriber known by the name of Roger Fleury. Much appreciated, guy. And I'm making it last. I mean, you can see these things can go a long ways, and I make them go even longer. I clean them off whenever I can. Sometimes you'll lose track and you'll forget, and it's like, oh, you come back and it's all hard and you just peel it off, go to the next one. But this way, we'll get a lot more use out of it, and we won't need another one for a long time. It's got a little handy little holder there for your spreaders and everything. All right, so that didn't take too long. I mean, I think about 20 minutes. It's good to go, man. It's nice, ready to sand. Got me some 80 grit here on a long board. I'm gonna run over this and we're gonna sand most of that back off. All you're gonna be left with is all the little low spots. And then after that, it should be ready for primer. So let's just go ahead and get started on it. Now don't be surprised when you first start sanding if you don't get a little bit of this stuff kind of built up. You'll want to stop every once in a while and clean that off. A lot of times you can spray it with an air hose, or you could come in and you can tap on it with a paint stick and it'll pop loose. Either way, it'll come off of there. Okay, so I've been blocking on this for a little while. I want this video to be more about how to stack your layers, starting from bare metal all the way out. So we're not going to go into detail on blocking on this video. And besides, we've covered that before in previous videos. Now that we've got this all on one level playing field, this filler is super, super thin, you guys. I mean, you can see through it in most areas. This really just acts kind of as like a thick layer of primer, let's say. This is what's going to get all the little waves and imperfections that tend to come in a factory vehicle. This is getting rid of all of it, because that's exactly what this is. I mean, this would be a high spot, obviously, because it's metal, and then this would be a low spot. Well, now they're both exactly the same playing field. A nice, a few coats of primer, go back and block it out, which is initially just to fill in the scratches, because at this point we're nice and straight. So we are to the priming phase at this point. For those of you guys that didn't know, if you take a paper towel, a clean rag, a glove, whatever, and you use it to fill your bodywork, take and rub your panel, with the palm of your hand. Don't use your fingers or any fingertips or any of that kind of stuff. Something about having that paper towel or a glove or a nice clean rag, whatever you choose, something about having that layer in there really enhances how well you can feel the panel. It's crazy. I don't know what it is, but just having that paper towel, if there's even the slightest imperfection, You'll feel it way better than you ever would with your bare hand or anything like that. Yeah, man, I mean, this feels really nice. Try this trick if you don't know, if you've never tried it before. Try it out. I can actually feel something right there. I can kind of see it even. That needs a little more feathering. And I'll tell you what, having that paper towel, really, I could feel that. Yeah, I'm gonna block this area just a little bit better. The rest of the door I'm gonna call good, man. That feels nice. I think we're ready to start stacking our primer layers on here. The primer is only going to be used to fill in the scratches because the panel's straight at this point. I'm gonna touch this area up, get it dialed in, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, so here's the primer we're using. Just some 2K primer. Cheap stuff, get from O'Reilly's. And don't be surprised if you get your primer and you start to mix it and you get a lot of that. It happens, not a big deal. Sometimes you can have them put it on the shaker for you and they'll shake it up for 10 or 15 minutes. This one's been sitting around for a little while, so we're gonna have to stir it up, but not a big deal. Just keep stirring it around, break it up, be very careful. Make sure that you get all of that liquefied. Just keep mixing and mixing and mixing till all of that goes away before you ever attempt to pour it. Okay, so the primer's in the gun, ready to go. Now's the part where you have a choice to make. When you're dealing with bare metal, I know I've explained this before, but in case anybody's new to the videos, this 2K primer that I'm using, it doesn't like to stick to bare metal. Even though it's been sanded down properly and all that, it just doesn't like it. It needs something else. And in this case, I use a self-etch primer. I've been using this stuff right here. It's a 1-to-1 mix, one part of this, one part of this, and all you do is you put on a very, very fine coat that you could just about see through, and that's all it takes. You let that set up for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. Once it's dried, completely flashed, you could go over it with your regular primer. You could also use what's known as a DTM, or a direct to metal primer sealer. It's designed to go directly over bare metal, and you guys might be, well, like, why didn't you use that? Well, if I were to have the car sandblasted, like let's say we had the entire car sandblasted, like a lot of you would choose to do, at that point you'd want to go through and you'd want to put a nice even coat of that epoxy primer sealer, DTM, which is direct to metal, like I mentioned, and that way the whole car is protected, because you obviously wouldn't want to leave a whole car sitting around in bare metal, right? But since we didn't strip the entire car all at once, we just did the panel by panel method, which is, I feel, is more kind of DIY friendly for any of you guys out there doing this stuff on your spare time, evenings, weekends, that kind of thing. I recommend the panel by panel method. So far it's been working out great, and when we do it that way, I mean, just a little coat of the of that self-etch seems to get the job done just fine. I used that stuff for years and years in the body shop. I never had any problem with anything letting loose. It always stuck good. Now here's the thing, you only want to put it on the bare metal. You don't want to go coat the entire door down with it. It's not really supposed to be put over bodywork itself. So you want to kind of keep it off of your filler. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to you however you want to do it. You decide. Both ways work fine. I've never had an issue with this. I think it's going to do good. And we're down to the last panels. There's no point in changing it now. All right, here we go. Let's get a coat of primer on there. Like to go around all my edges first. All right, there is coat number 1. Basically, flashing is just a matter of it's starting to dry. What it's doing is it's going from shiny to dull, and you want it, the whole thing, to be dull and actually dry to the touch. You know, you want to actually be able to touch it without it sticking to you. And at that point, this primer will be ready for another coat. All right, it's time for coat number 2. All right, last coat, let's do it. Well, I'm happy to report that we are back where we started. That was the only panel that had an issue, and that's because it's the only panel that we didn't strip down to bare metal at the very beginning of the project. But we're good now, stripped down, all of it. We know everything about the door now. See, before we wasn't sure. We knew it had old paint under it, all of that kind of stuff, not good. Now we know there's nothing under it but brand new materials that we applied ourselves. Now we know it's good. And that's always the best way to go. Anytime you're painting stuff, I always recommend, especially with these old cars, and especially the cars that have already had someone else working on them, you're better off to start over, especially if you could tell it's old or it wasn't done correctly, which sometimes we run into. When we come back, we'll be back to painting again. And I know that's what you guys like the most. You like to see the colors go on. I'm the same way. Kind of a long project. Anybody that's been following along, I really do appreciate all of the support, the comments, the thumbs ups, all that good stuff. If you guys would, I'd appreciate it if you would hit me up on Instagram, link in the description, Facebook, Weird Beard on Facebook. And I'm going to get out of here for now. I'll see you guys next time.